How is everybody doing today? A little warm? Before we get going, I'm Mark Baker. I'm from Rankin County, and I'm running to be your first conservative Attorney General. I want to introduce my wife, lady of 30 years. She's sitting in the front row. Lady, stand up, wave to everybody. She's a school teacher at Brandon High School, and they're getting ready to get started with the students here, and I'm so glad you could make it. She broke away. I tell people, I think she loves her students more than me, but I'm not about to ask her. There's my son on the front row, Chase Baker. He's a senior at Ole Miss. He has been with me in campaign since he was 5 years old. His earliest memory includes walking down a subdivision in his red rain boots and an umbrella when it was raining, and we were knocking on doors. And you've been a great help to me, son, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate you and how much I just love you and think of you as a friend. I am running to be your first conservative Attorney General, and there are several opponents in this race. I want to tell you, I'm glad to see that my opponents are here. I got an email blast from one of my opponents, Lynn, last night, and apparently she's just now realized that she's in a race and she might be losing to me, so she wants some money. Now, I want to tell you, Lynn, had you been going around the state campaigning like I had, as opposed to going around the state telling folks that you were Jim Hood's hand-picked successor, you might have realized it long before now. I want to tell you that Jim Hood has called, so apparently the partnership is broken down, and he's looked at your campaign finance report, and I understand he wants his donors back. So we are running to be Attorney General. I know Andy talks about experience, and I appreciate that, Andy. He talks about the appeals that he has had, and that's great. And Andy, I can tell you, I've tried as many cases as you had in many courts as you have, and I want to tell you a little tip for you. If you'll just win your cases in the trial courts, you won't have to worry about all those appeals. Now, I don't try to take myself too seriously, but I do take seriously the practice of law, and I do take seriously this office. I have the experience. I've been actively practicing law in Rankin County for 32 years. I tell people I've tried weeks-long jury trials in federal and state court, and I've tried 15-minute justice court trials, and I've tried everything in between. I've been 16 years in the state legislature, the last 8 of which I've served as chairman of the Judiciary A Committee. That committee handles more bills in the House of Representatives than any other committee, with the exception of Appropriation and Ways and Means. In 2007 to 11, I was the Republican leader in the House, and I led to get a House majority, and for the first time since Reconstruction in 2012, we showed up with a Republican majority, and we flipped the House of Representatives for the better, for Mississippi, for today. I'm telling you, in addition to being a practicing lawyer, I have been a prosecutor and a judge. And I think that experience will help me greatly in the office of Attorney General. I'm running to be your first conservative Attorney General because Mississippi needs a partner with the Trump administration. Someone who will work to enforce our laws, to build the wall and build it now, to stop the scourge of drugs that are pouring into our country. You hear every day about the opioid crisis. You will not begin to get a handle on the opioid crisis that is killing our friends and family until you get a handle on the southern border. Until you secure the southern border, you won't do that. I have the experience to work with the federal, state, and local authorities to do that, and we will begin that day one. I'm running to be your first conservative Attorney General because I am 100% law enforcement. In 16 years in the legislature, all of my votes, all of my efforts have been for law enforcement. I have a 100% record in that regard. In that respect, I've been endorsed by 10 Republican sheriffs across the state, law enforcement officers from state line to state line, and I'm the only candidate in this race to have received the endorsement of the NRA. I know how to provide leadership, and I know how to get resources, and I know how to help the men and women in law enforcement to help protect us. I want to be your first conservative Attorney General because Jackson's homicide rate is the 3rd worst in the country. Their murder rate is currently on level that it will be the deadliest year on record. And we need an Attorney General who will step up and provide leadership to protect and serve the people of the city of Jackson and the state of Mississippi. Last week, I released a plan called Broken Windows. It is a proven, effective plan. It will work in the city of Jackson, and with my experience in the legislature, we will get the law passed to help begin to serve and save the city of Jackson, because as goes Jackson, so goes the state of Mississippi, and we need to apply this in other places in the state. I'm running to be your first conservative attorney general because district attorneys and law enforcement all over this state are trying to get things done. For example, the Mississippi Crime Lab, years-long delays on autopsy reports, crime reports, gun residue reports. People are not being indicted. Investigations are not being completed. Victims are being victimized. We will move the crime lab to the Attorney General's office, and we will begin to make the criminal justice system effective again. I'm running to be your first conservative attorney general because 2 years ago we voted for, and I worked with Governor Bryant to put "In God We Trust" on the state seal. We recently received a letter from the Humanist Society that said if you don't remove "In God We Trust" from the seal and the car tag, you're going to be sued. And we need an attorney general with a proven record who will stand up and say, well, come sue us, because in Mississippi, in God we do trust. I'm running to be your first conservative attorney general because this attorney general has given away this office to the highest bidder. He's given away over 110 no bid, no lose contingency contracts to lawyers to sue businesses that'll stand still long enough to be served with process. And he's paid those lawyers over $120 million in contingency fees. Now let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If you're trying to locate economic opportunity and prosperity in your community, suing CEOs and businesses is not the way to go. Mississippi needs an attorney general who will be a business partner and not a business persecutor. But more than that, ladies and gentlemen, Mississippi needs an attorney general who will stand up and do the work. When somebody needs to be sued, the attorney general, the person that you elect and hire to do the job, ought to stand up and do it. And the 160 lawyers that you have in downtown Jackson that you're paying for ought to step up and work too. It's past time that we're giving money to trial lawyers so they can buy bigger mansions and faster jets. That money needs to be used to go into the general fund for teacher pay raises and fix our roads and bridges and other government services. I'm running to be your first conservative attorney general because this session we did pass the heartbeat bill. Andy mentioned that, but he didn't mention that I voted for it and we worked for it and we got it passed. And 2 days after Governor Bryant signed that bill into law, Mississippi was sued. And 3 weeks ago in federal court, your attorney general didn't show up. I received an endorsement for the Mississippi right to life. I've had it consistently in my 16 years, and there's one thing you need to know about me, ladies and gentlemen. In 16 years in the legislature and 32 years of practicing law, I have never not shown up. I will fight for you. I'm running to be Mississippi's next attorney general because a federal overreach where Jim Hood is AWOL again. Eric Holder, y'all remember Eric Holder, the self-described partner in crime with President Obama? 3 weeks ago, he sued Mississippi because the way we elect our statewide elected officials. Did Jim Hood stand up and fight? Did the lawyers in his office stand up and fight? Heck no, they didn't. They all recused themselves. We need an attorney general who is going to stand up for Mississippi. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm running to be your first conservative attorney general because I want you to think in 16 years, when's the last case of significant public corruption that your attorney general has prosecuted? There hasn't been one, ladies and gentlemen. We've had to rely on the U.S. Attorney's Office. We've had to rely on others to take care of our business. We need an attorney general who is going to stand up and fight for Mississippi and get rid of dirty politicians. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm running to be your first conservative attorney general because once again the federal government sued us because how we treat our mentally ill. How we treat our mentally ill, ladies and gentlemen. Your attorney general is fighting that lawsuit. We need to know why the Department of Justice is coming in because of how we treat our mentally ill, because we need to stand up for our mentally ill. We don't need them telling us. We need to stand up for them as your attorney general. I will protect the most vulnerable among us. You may have picked up by now, but if you're looking for Jim Hood 2.0, I'm not your guy. I have been a go-to conservative leader in the legislature for the last 16 years, but you have got to know that this office is the most politicized office in the country. Liberals are fleeing to the courts because they can't get their policies enacted in the legislature. And you have got to know the politics of your next attorney general. President Reagan said, trust but verify. With me, you go straight to verify. I have 16 years of on-the-record votes. 100% record on protection for the rights of the unborn, 100% record on religious freedoms, 100% record on law enforcement, and supported by sheriffs and law enforcement across the state, 100% record on the Second Amendment, and 100% record on getting things done. Now I bring this up because as soon as I get off the stump, somebody's going to ask about it, and that's about the state flag. And I want you to know I'm the only candidate in this race that hasn't called to change the state flag. In my time in the legislature, in my 16 years, I have fought any attempt by a member to override a vote of the people. Because in 2001, the people decided, and in my opinion, the people decided it's the people's decision and not the politicians in Jackson. You know, these political speeches are akin to a job interview. You got to think of the qualities you want in your next attorney general. Somebody who's got experience, a proven record, passion, and ability. And you can ask anyone that knows me, friend or foe. They'll tell you I do what I say, I know what I'm going to do, I work hard, and I get things done. I have 32 years of experience, never been fired for a client for being nice. I can work for you. I know how to work for you. As your next attorney general, I will work for you. Thank you very much.